We're never gonna hear the end of it, are we? But hey, at least Spurs are completely f***ed. They await Southampton next season in the Championship. Meanwhile, Conte suddenly ditches Napoli, and CR7 and Neuer are officially headed to the World Cup. This is DMAC Daily. Football's biggest nightmare has come to fruition. As if being exposed to Hincapie's bare cheeks wasn't bad enough yesterday, the Gooners have since exploded all over the timeline as, ironically, City bottled it. And I don't think people realize what's now in store. Expect Saka comparisons to prime Messi. Expect Madueke to Yamal. It's coming. I mean, we've already seen Declan Rice Ballon d'Or shouts. So yeah, it's a dark day. I can't lie. PSG, if you don't lock the in, we're actually cooked here. Not to be dramatic or anything, but this is my 9/11, and I now hope City get relegated. They ought to be severely punished, not for the blatant financial breaches per se, but for bottling this so spectacularly. This could have been one of the funniest outcomes in football history, but in the end, all City did was low-key ruin Bournemouth's Champions League hopes. Seriously, Haaland, not cool. So Arsenal flipped the script and secure the Premier League title with a game to spare. Their first Premier League triumph in 22 years. Man, this club has been through some haven't they? Going from the Invincibles to the painful end of Wenger's tenure at the club. For a while, Mourinho was bang on. They were specialists in failure, which just so happened to coincide with the rise of Arsenal Fan TV. Then the COVID shenanigans happened, which was like the peak of their banter era. Even when they won a trophy during that period, they still somehow remained the laughing stock of the football world. But fair play to Arteta's project, because year on year, they've just been incrementally improving. You know, teams rise and fall, but to Arsenal's credit, their trajectory has kept going upwards. And it took forever to get to this point. 3 straight second place finishes in the Prem. It's why the bottle job slander cut so deep. This fan base then had further PTSD following that City defeat in April. But somehow, they managed to regroup, overcoming Atletico Madrid in the Champions League to reach the final for the first time in 20 years, and now finally breaking their Premier League title hoodoo. Sure, they may not be the most aesthetically pleasing team to do so, but with the least goals conceded, the second most goals scored, it's hard to argue they don't actually deserve it. Their set-piece prowess is unlike any other club in world football, and the most reactionary fans will lament certain decisions or VAR calls going in Arsenal's favour, but over the course of a 38-game season, every team benefits and suffers from subjective refereeing interpretations. Take the tinfoil hat off, because this isn't England's own Calciopoli scandal. I will say, I think the most concerning thing regarding Arsenal is that I truly believe they can drastically improve. Don't get me wrong, defensively, they're incredible. Raya's world-class in goal. They've got the best centre-back pairing in world football. The full-backs are quality too. They've got great depth in midfield as well. But I think the left flank could be upgraded significantly. You add a Yildiz or Barcola profile in the mix, and that's a scary proposition. Havertz and Gyökeres delivered in the back end of the season, sure. But I personally think the striker department could do with an upgrade too. Additionally, if Arteta is less cautious in his tactical approach in the future, then this team could continue to dominate English football for years to come. You think the Arsenal fans are cringe now? Just you wait for what's in store. Just quickly on the Bournemouth game itself, and what a team this is, man. Andoni Iraola must be destined for a big job over the summer because he's leaving an unbelievable group of players. They lost their entire back line over the summer. Then they lost their best player mid-season and somehow got even better. The brand of football they play to is just unreal, with the fullbacks bombing on, direct inverted wingers with 2 of the best wonder kids in world football in attack. With this 1-1 draw, UCL football is potentially out of reach for Bournemouth unless they win big on the final match day and Liverpool do the polar opposite, or alternatively Villa drop down to 5th and win the Europa League. They'll be kicking themselves that they weren't able to hold on for a win today, but I'd argue Europa League would be a better outcome for Bournemouth anyways. This is a competition they could very well go on to win next season. As for City though, so much for the fairy tale ending for Pep, denied of a domestic treble. They look tired today. I don't think this is the downfall of City though long term. Pep's essentially replacing with his twin. I also don't envisage a serious punishment for the 115 charges. It's probably business as usual at the Etihad. Staying in the Premier League, or should I say Championship, as Spurs take another devastating defeat, this time away at Chelsea, as their Premier League status now well and truly hangs in the balance. Could it honestly get any worse for this club, seeing their bitter North London rivals win the league whilst they're on the precipice of relegation? Bro, imagine being a Spurs fan. This club absolutely stinks. Chelsea hadn't won a league game in over 2 months, but Tottenham will always be their charity FC no matter what. Enzo Fernandez cooking them with a screamer before setting up Santos in the second half. In fairness, Spurs didn't just give up. The consolation goal king himself, Richarlison, reducing the deficit. There was also a very contentious incident late on, Cucurella wrestling Van de Ven to the ground. He was actually given a yellow card for this incident, but the referee interpreted that this took place before the corner was taken. So rather than a penalty, it was simply a retake. But if you look at the footage, you can clearly see the ball was already in play by the time the foul was made. So if I'm a Spurs fan seeing that, I'm absolutely fuming, especially seeing as though moments later, Liam Delap then blatantly attacks Jed Spence and is only shown a yellow. Like, the guy's not even looking at the ball here. Deserved a red card for sure. Full transparency, Delap is probably my least favorite player to ever wear the Chelsea shirt. I cannot stand him. The casual thuggery without any end product. 1 goal in just 27 Premier League games. They let Jackson leave on loan for this guy. Crazy work. Regardless though, Chelsea now rise up to 8th in the league. They'll face Sunderland with a Europa League spot still mathematically within reach. That'll be an interesting watch for sure, but it's further down the table where the real drama lies. West Ham host Leeds while Spurs are at home to Everton. All Spurs need is a point to survive, but can anyone honestly be confident in this team pulling out a result? I certainly can't. Staying in English football news, and we may have just witnessed one of the most unprecedented punishments in modern football history. Southampton have officially been expelled from the Championship playoffs following the now infamous Spygate scandal, with Middlesbrough sensationally reinstated despite already being knocked out of the playoffs. Now, this entire saga exploded after photos emerged allegedly showing a Southampton analyst hiding behind a tree and filming Middlesbrough's training session ahead of their playoff semi-final. At face value, it's a very comical image, but it's also a damning piece of evidence. The EFL's Independent Disciplinary Commission concluded that Southampton had committed multiple breaches of league violations, not just involving Middlesbrough, but also matches involving Oxford United and Ipswich Town earlier in the season. According to reports, the club admitted to unauthorized filming and observation of opposition training sessions within the prohibited 72-hour window before matches. And so the punishment in its entirety is enormous. As mentioned, they've been removed from the Championship playoffs entirely, alongside being handed a 4-point deduction for next season. And Middlesbrough, the side they had beaten in the semi-finals, have now been reinstated into the final against Hull City at Wembley. Financially, this is catastrophic for Southampton. Promotion to the Premier League is often referred to as the richest game in football, worth in excess of £200 million. They've now thrown that out the window as Middlesbrough take their place. Ladies and gentlemen, that is how you do it. Full respect to the EFL for actually upholding the rules and ensuring accountability. Southampton cheated, plain and simple. The Premier League could learn a thing or two from how the EFL dealt with this. Heading over to Italy, and Antonio Conte has decided to leave Napoli at the end of the season, despite having a year remaining on his contract in what's shaping up to be another dramatic ending to a Conte project. The Italian initially arrived at the club in a bit of a crisis at the time following a disastrous Scudetto defense where they finished 10th in the league. He came in and immediately secured the Serie A title in his first season at the club, with McTominay becoming an absolute god in midfield. Conte added another Supercoppa Italiana to his name this season, but a poor European campaign and falling short of Scudetto glory somewhat dampened the mood internally. It's been widely reported that there has been tension brewing between Conte and Napoli's club president over the transfer strategy and overall direction of the squad moving forward. If you've been following Conte throughout his career, you'll know very well this relationship dynamic is nothing new. Whether it was Juventus, Chelsea, Inter, or Tottenham, Conte's projects tend to have a really great honeymoon phase before the situation always seems to deteriorate further down the line. As for what's next for Conte, maybe a return to the national team. Italy sure could use a competent manager. Juve could possibly be tempted if they don't get Champions League football. Meanwhile, former Napoli coach Maurizio Sarri, he's been linked with a return to the club. Switching gears to international football news, and we had another 3 nations drop their World Cup squads overnight, starting with Switzerland. And I don't know about you guys, but it just feels weird seeing a Swiss team without the GOAT himself, Xherdan Shaqiri. No Sommer in goal either, he's now retired, but hey, at least we got a couple familiar sights. Ricardo Rodriguez making the cut, and Embolo has also respawned. He always seems to reappear every 4 years, so that's cool to see. Meanwhile, the Scottish squad is in, and all I can say here is Ollie McBurney robbed. This guy surely deserved a call-up over Dykes, considering his past season with Hull. But nonetheless, I'm still looking forward to seeing this country over the summer. They haven't featured at a World Cup in the 21st century, and their fans are absolutely mental. Expect to see lots of kilts in the stands. Finally, we have Portugal's squad, and there were several interesting things to note with this team being announced. Now, a lot of people were immediately drawn to the fact that 4 goalkeepers were included. Many were thinking that's excessive, but if you actually count the squad, this is 27 players, not the 26. The 4th keeper is a new rule from FIFA, so that if one of the 3 keepers are injured throughout the tournament, Ricardo Velho will replace them. Apparently, Belgium have done the same thing, adding Van der Voort to their squad. They just didn't publicly announce him. On paper, the defense looks solid. I'm curious as to who will partner Ruben Dias at centre back. The midfield is fantastic too. So many incredible combinations on offer. Going forward though, I'm unsure what to think. Don't get me wrong, I love that CR7's in this squad. I want to see all the legends have one last dance at this year's tournament. I can't believe that he's still doing it at 41 years old either. His pursuit of greatness and the sheer longevity of his career is truly admirable. I just hope he can give a good account of himself at this year's tournament. Staying in World Cup news, and whilst Germany's national team is yet to be officially announced as of recording this vid, Florian Plettenberg is reporting that Julian Nagelsmann has personally called Oliver Baumann to inform him that Manuel Neuer will start in goal at this year's tournament. Fresh off of signing a 1-year contract extension with Bayern, the 40-year-old now appears destined to step out of international retirement. Just an unbelievable set of circumstances. A week ago, people were anticipating Neuer could retire from football altogether. Now he'll compete in his 5th straight World Cup. Crazy plot twist. Last but not least, Spain have been dealt a huge blow with the news that Fermin Lopez has been ruled out of this year's World Cup with a fracture to his right foot. A massive shame. He's had such an incredible season for Barca, one of the most productive midfield players on the planet this season. It'll be a huge loss for La Roja. Anyways, guys, that's all for today's DMAC Daily. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow.